In today's church, where tensions run high and the traditional Latin Mass often feels like it's being pushed aside, Pope Leo made a quiet but powerful gesture that has stirred hope among many faithful Catholics. He didn't need to explain it. He simply did it, and the message was clear. It was a moment that made people stop and reflect on what it really means to worship God. On July 15, 2025, during the Feast of Saint Bonaventure, something unexpected took place at the Chapel of the Caribbean Barracks in Castel Gandolfo. For the first time as Pope, Leo publicly celebrated Mass facing the altar, not the people. To some, this detail might seem small, but for many, it spoke volumes. Those familiar with Pope Leo's quiet, thoughtful nature may have seen it coming. But the way he did it calmly, without warning or explanation, was what made it so striking. Right now, the way the Mass is celebrated has become a point of tension in the Church. It's not just about preferences, it's about what we hold sacred, about our connection to tradition. In the middle of all this, the Pope made a bold move. He didn't make a speech. He didn't try to win anyone over. He simply turned facing the altar with the people, both looking toward God. It wasn't about making a statement. It was about worship. Honest, reverent, and deeply meaningful. This wasn't just a personal gesture, it was a quiet but firm act of leadership. A message to the whole Church. Tradition isn't something to be hidden away or barely allowed. Without uttering a word, Pope Leo reminded everyone that facing God in worship and preserving a deep sense of the sacred isn't just a memory from the past, it's a truth that still matters and needs to be rediscovered. This isn't the first time he's pointed to the need for more reverence in the liturgy. During the Jubilee celebration for the Eastern Catholic Churches, Pope Leo spoke directly to their representatives. His words were clear and meaningful. He praised their ancient liturgical traditions, highlighting how they differ from the more practical, and often emotionally flat, way the liturgy can sometimes feel in the Western Church. He made it clear that what the Eastern liturgies still hold is something precious, a living sense of mystery, a kind of worship that touches the whole person, body, mind, and soul. A liturgy that sings of the beauty of salvation and stirs the heart to awe, reminding us that the greatness of God meets us in our weakness. Pope Leo even warned that these traditions must be protected, not watered down to fit modern trends or consumer habits. Their power lies in their ability to lift us out of the ordinary and into the sacred. When Pope Leo first praised the Eastern churches and their rich liturgical traditions, many saw it as a general appreciation for diversity in worship. But now, after his recent decision to celebrate Mass facing the altar, those words carry much deeper weight. It's becoming clear that he sees something vital in those traditions, something the Western Church is in danger of losing. The Eastern liturgies haven't turned the altar into a stage or the Mass into a performance. They remain focused on one thing: leading people to God. This gesture comes at a moment when liturgical tensions are growing. In recent years, the traditional Latin Mass has faced increasing pressure. Some bishops have used the restrictions from traditionist custods to limit or remove Latin Mass communities, even in places where attendance was strong and peaceful. Celebrating Mass facing the altar ad orientem has never been banned outright. In fact, it's allowed both in the traditional liturgy and in the modern Mass of Pope Paul VI. Yet, in many dioceses, priests have been discouraged or even forbidden from doing it. The reason? A mistaken idea of unity that feels more like forced uniformity. On paper, church documents still talk about valuing tradition and promoting unity. But in reality, many priests and laypeople who love the Latin Mass are made to feel like they're on the margins, treated as if their devotion is outdated or unwanted. Some bishops have even sent out official letters banning ad orientem worship altogether, even in the regular form of the Roman Rite. But here's the truth. The current missal, approved under Pope Paul VI, allows this form of celebration. It's right there in the rubrics. So, what does it really mean to celebrate Mass facing the altar? It's not just about posture, it's about purpose. It shows, in a clear and visible way, that the Mass is directed toward God, not toward us. It reminds everyone in the church, priest and people alike, that we're all turned together towards something greater. It's not a performance, it's worship. When a priest celebrates Mass facing the altar, He stands on the same side as the congregation. He doesn't place himself in the spotlight, but instead leads the people in prayer, all facing the same direction toward the sacred mystery taking place on the altar. This way of celebrating makes it clear that the Mass isn't a back and forth between the priest and the people. It's something deeper, a shared act of worship that rises together toward God. Choosing to celebrate ad orientem helps resist the temptation to turn the liturgy into a show. It brings the focus back to what the altar really is, not just a table or a stage, but a holy place where heaven meets earth. Pope Leo's quiet but powerful action comes during a time of mixed messages. On one hand, there are small signs of openness. On the other, some parts of the Church are still enforcing heavy restrictions. While the Mass at Castel Gandolfo offered hope, many traditional communities, especially in the United States, are still facing real hardship. Parishes that once had strong, joyful Latin Mass communities have been broken apart. Mass times have been cut back. Faithful Catholics have been pushed out, left to travel long distances or gather in borrowed spaces just to attend the liturgy they love. Cardinal Gerhard Ludwig Müller spoke about this in an interview with the Associated Press. He called the campaign against the Latin Mass senseless. In his view, the effort to push away traditional Catholics not only fails to bring about unity, it actually causes deeper wounds and greater division within the Church. His words were clear and bold. He described this crackdown on tradition as unnecessary and even harmful, saying it had no real pastoral or theological reason behind it. Against this backdrop, a major petition began to circulate, organized by LifeSite News. It called for an end to the restrictions laid out in traditionist custods and urged the Vatican to once again allow traditional celebrations without fear or punishment. The petition started before the Pope's Mass at Castel Gandolfo, but that Mass gave it even more momentum. As of now, the petition has gathered tens of thousands of signatures, and it's still spreading. For many faithful Catholics, it's a peaceful but firm way of saying, we want to be heard. It's not about protest. It's about sharing a deep concern and asking for understanding. Alongside the petition, many individuals have taken a more personal approach. They've written directly to Pope Leo and to the Vatican office responsible for liturgy. Some letters are typed, but many are handwritten, simple, heartfelt messages. In them, people share their stories, their confusion, and the pain they feel at seeing the liturgy they love being pushed aside. They're not asking for special treatment, just to be treated with respect, and to be allowed to worship in the way that has nourished their faith for generations. The voices speaking out today are not radicals, rebels, or troublemakers. They are families, entire parishes, prayer groups, young adults, elderly couples, and ordinary Catholics from around the world. They come with respect, not shouting or protesting, but with deep sadness and love for their faith. They are writing, signing, and speaking up not to demand power or attention, but simply to say, we belong here too. Many of them have been part of the Church for their entire lives. They've served as altar boys, catechists, musicians, and volunteers. They've baptized their children in these parishes. They've buried their loved ones through the rites of the traditional liturgy. They've built communities around a form of worship that lifts their hearts to God, and now they are being treated as if their presence is a problem. They are not asking to replace anything. They're not trying to turn back the clock. What they want is simple: to be allowed to continue practicing the faith in the way that speaks to their souls. For many of them, the traditional Latin Mass is not a fashion or a trend. It's the spiritual home where they've met Christ again and again. And when that is taken away or restricted, it feels like losing something sacred, like being quietly pushed to the margins of the Church they love. These pleas through letters, petitions, and private conversations are not meant to divide. In fact, they are calling for the very opposite. In a time when the Church faces so many challenges from outside, these Catholics are asking that we stop creating unnecessary wounds inside. They're reminding the world that unity doesn't mean making everyone look, speak, or worship exactly the same. True unity is built when we learn to live together with trust, respect, and love, even when our expressions of faith differ. Their message is also a reminder to Church leaders. Please don't be afraid of tradition. Don't treat it like a relic or a threat. The Mass that nourished the saints, that carried the Church through centuries of joy and suffering, still speaks to hearts today. It doesn't compete with modern expressions of faith, it complements them. It reminds us that the roots of our worship go deep, and that sometimes what's most ancient is also what's most alive. At the heart of their request is something simple but powerful: the belief that turning toward God literally and spiritually is the path to deeper communion. When the priest and the faithful are all facing the same way during the liturgy, it becomes a powerful symbol. It shows that we are not gathered around a person. We're not here to watch a performance. We are here to adore. Together, we are looking toward the Lord, seeking His mercy, and offering our hearts as one. This posture ad orientem isn't just about direction. It's about meaning. It draws everyone's attention to the mystery happening on the altar. It helps us remember that the Mass is not about us, it's about God. It slows us down. It invites silence. It opens a space where awe and reverence can grow. And that's where communion really begins. Not just the communion we receive on our tongues, but the deeper communion of souls united in worship. A communion that isn't forged through programs or committees, but through prayer, real, humble prayer that lifts us beyond ourselves. Even in the face of new restrictions and official decrees, this voice of tradition continues to echo across the Church. It's not loud or demanding. It's steady, patient, and filled with faith. It's the voice of Catholics who believe that true renewal does not come from erasing the past, but from embracing what is holy, whether old or new. These Catholics are not asking for control. They are asking for space, for trust, for the freedom to worship the way the saints did, the way their grandparents did, and the way that still brings them closer to Christ today. They are asking not to be dismissed, but to be seen as part of the same body, alive, faithful, and full of love for the Church. And perhaps, if we listen closely, we'll realize that their voice is not just the voice of a few. It is the voice of a deeper hunger in the Church, a hunger for the sacred, the beautiful, and the eternal. A hunger that no decree can silence. A longing that speaks to the heart of every believer. A call to return, once more, to the source of our hope. Jesus Christ, present in the Eucharist, worshipped with reverence, in spirit and in truth. Thank you for watching.